Build a portfolio of open-source data science projects on GitHub. Science in data science can be misleading. After all, data science is a very practical endeavor. You need to code a lot in order to really get it. Let's discuss how to get practical. Work harder, work smarter. So you want to be a better data scientist? Code. Gather databases and visualize, analyze, understand it. And then learn how to apply that knowledge to new data sets. A big part of being a data scientist is to make sure you're doing all your analysis on as much data as possible, because data is your biggest asset. No matter how clever algorithms you're using, if you don't have enough data, you won't progress. You can always go back and try to get your best set of results again. But as a data scientist, you really want to get as much data as you can before you start looking at it in a more systematic way. Start building a GitHub portfolio. The sooner you start building a GitHub portfolio of open source projects, the better. This way you'll not only learn a lot, you'll also get a better chance at finding your next dream job. It hugely increases your visibility as a data scientist and allows you to document your data science journey. If you're interested in working in the data science and you're not sure which company to choose, try and get a quote from a company that is in a very specific niche or category. It'll be easier to convince the recruiters that you can fill a specific job requirement rather than being seen as a general data scientist. Practically speaking, the best way to do that would be to research the companies in a particular niche, for example through Crunchbase, and then build a portfolio of data science projects related to that niche. If that niche is your hobby as well, it's a win-win situation. What makes a good data science project? If it is something you think you can do, or something that you think is a good fit with the data science mindset, and you have the chance to learn the skills and experience needed to do it, take it. Data science projects are all about learning, and the better the data science skills you have, the more likely you are to build a successful project. The following is a list of the most important aspects to consider when creating a data science project. The project needs to have some sort of measurable result. The project should be simple. The project should be well understood by the client. The project should be in the client's control. The project should be in their best interest. The project should provide clear, concise information and results. You should start a project with the data. It is often the first step. Start with what you know, what you don't know, and the reasons why. You should have a clear project with a clear idea of what you are trying to do. If you don't, you will not have a clear direction. That's often fine at the start, but with time you should plan your work to get the best results. Experiment. Data science is all about experimenting. A good tool can give you a better understanding of what your data looks like, but it's only useful if you can extract insights from it. When looking at a dataset, you need to be able to do a lot more than see if it has a pattern. To get insights from a dataset, you need to know what to look for. What are the patterns that you can identify and how can you turn that into actionable insights? If you've got your head around these questions, then you can start to get insights that can lead to business outcomes. You can start to use these insights to start to improve the quality of your work and work on your skills. Once you've got a solid understanding of what you're looking for, there are many ways you can go about getting insight from your data. Finally, one of the best ways to look at your data is by creating your own report. Have a spreadsheet where you note everything you did in a project. This way you'll keep everything well organized, you'll learn a lot and be ready to tackle more complex projects. GitHub project ideas. Let's finish this chapter with 5 GitHub projects you may try to do for yourself before you approach job interviews. The following 5 ideas will let you build a varied and fun portfolio of projects. 1. Clustering methods. One of the first things you learn after you learn the basics of Python is how to classify data and put them into groups relative to their different features. You can classify text according to sentiments or images according to similarity. You can go for Kaggle's different datasets to classify sports top performers and try to determine what's making an athlete a star. Options here are endless and you should definitely go into playing data as much as you can. As for the methods, you'll be using definitely scan and or KNN to cluster your data. Also, some dimensionality reductions, like PCA or TSNE, might be helpful. I will discuss those methods in the last chapter. 2. Scraping websites and extracting information. What's more fun than choosing a website which you visit often and try to scrape it? You can go for financial news, social media trends or best cooking recipes. You can even try to scrape Google and other search engines. It's not hard in Python. Scraping a single website is fun because you get to understand how websites are built and their flow of information, from a totally different perspective. Scraping search engines is great for learning how different pieces of information are spread throughout the internet. And if you connect the two, you'll get an amazing project. Newsfeed about using requests library to scrape and beautiful soup to clean the HTML code. Alternatively, you can also use Selenium to scrape. 3. Data cleaning. Here's a standard though a little tedious task, cleaning data. It is standard because this happens to be a part of almost any real-world problem you will encounter as a data scientist. It is tedious because you might end up spending long hours thinking about how to make sense of the enormous data you have. Data cleaning might involve taking ticks of stock prices and trying to make sense of that, by clustering, by good visualization. Or if you already have a data set, like your old documents and photos, it might involve trying to tidy them up, by deleting those which are not needed anymore. Data cleaning might be as easy as deleting unwanted files to as hard as trying to use machine learning to spot anomalies in your dataset to delete those. One of the standard libraries here is Pandas and NumPy. 4. Data visualizations. Whether you have a nice data set or not, the best way to understand data is to try to visualize it in many different ways. It's not only helpful for you, but also for your potential clients or employers. By visualizing it might be much easier to spot what's going on. Here Plotly comes in handy, which is a standard Python library for plotting functions and graphs. If you want to build an interactive dashboard, then you should try using Dash in Python. 5. Neural networks. Time to get into machine learning. Neural networks are not as hard as you think. Their easiest instances are very quick to implement, especially if you use a framework of Keras, which does a lot of work for you. The entry point for neural networks is classifying handwritten digits. If you Google NIST Python, you'll find plenty of tutorials on how to use simple neural networks to do it. From then you can go into more complex datasets, for example images of animals, and problems, multi-class classification, anomaly detection. How to manage your data science projects. One of the hardest things about this job is managing your data science project. Organize your desk and work environment. Schedule your tasks and prioritize. You probably have to think through all of your options for how to approach every aspect of your data science project. Here are a few things you should keep in mind as you move through your tasks. When I was first in the industry, I would spend a lot of time looking at what was next on the data science agenda. After a few months, I realized that this was not a very productive approach. What was really helpful was to focus on a few key data science tasks at a time. When you do this, you're going to be able to complete your work faster. In fact, you will have much more clarity in what you need to do next. You can run the following process. Pick the data you want to analyze. Identify the research questions you want to answer. Define the type of analysis you want to perform. Pick a research plan. Create a data pipeline. Write your code. Repeat. Once implemented, you can run it over and over, to get better each time. 2. Figure out what your job is. The first thing to do when building a data science team is to figure out what your job is. If you're working in a startup, it's probably pretty clear. You need to build something useful and interesting that people can use. But in your company you might need to do some pretty fancy analytics stuff, like using data science to build a better product, or a better solution, for your customers. Improving your marketing and selling strategy. Driving ROI for your business. The trick is to figure out which one of these things you actually need to focus on and to do right now. So we're back to prioritizing. 3. Keep a good documentation of your project. Even when you know what your business does, you don't always know what your next steps will be and how long it will take. You may need to start again, or you may have new tasks you don't even know about. I keep an Excel spreadsheet, and Trello and Evernote, for these things. What I need to do today. How long until I can start? What else needs to be done today? What are the next steps that need to be taken? 4. Make sure that your team is always on the same page. Every time you make a change, you need to make sure that everyone is on the same page. A good team is built on collaboration. If everyone is working in sync, your company is going to be better and faster. Keep it simple. 5. You need to think before you type. If you make a mistake, you can try to make it up later. Or, you can make it up now and move forward. We have all made mistakes in our lives. It's part of the learning process. You need to be aware of what the other person is typing in order to avoid a mistake. 6. Identify your most pressing research questions. As you move through this process, you will see the different challenges of your research and you'll want to identify the questions that need to be answered most. Data science is practical. It's all about how you handle data and what insights you can gain from it. So when you need to make decisions, it's important to take the time to consider the data that you've already collected. It's a good idea to keep a few key documents around to help you make decisions.